1 in 3 new refrigerators will need a major repair before year 5. Failure rates are up 40% since the early 2000s, and the average lifespan has been cut nearly in half. Behind that collapse are 3 engineering decisions most buyers never hear about. Technicians have been tracking all of it, building a blacklist, and the brands on it might already be in your kitchen. A few decades ago, a new refrigerator was a long-term investment. Most buyers could expect their machine to last nearly 20 years, with breakdowns rare enough to be a family event. That era has vanished. Today, the odds look nothing like they did in the early 2000s. According to a massive industry survey covering over 71,000 units, the failure rate for major repairs has jumped by 40% compared to models built just 15 years ago. The average lifespan has collapsed, dropping from a solid 20 years to barely 12 years. The numbers are not small or isolated. 1 in 3 new refrigerators now needs a major repair within the first 5 years. That means for every 3 families buying a new fridge, at least one will be facing a costly service call or a looming replacement before the warranty is even up. These aren't just minor annoyances either. The definition of a major repair is clear: any fix that costs more than $250, often involving sealed components, control boards, or the compressor itself. The trend cuts across price points and brands. Premium models with smart features and stainless steel finishes are just as likely, or sometimes more likely, to end up on the repair list as cheaper, no-frills units. The data shows that even a $3,000 refrigerator can be as vulnerable as a basic $900 model. It's not just a matter of unlucky buyers or isolated lemons. This is a systemic pattern, confirmed by both consumer surveys and field data from repair networks. Technicians who track these numbers have watched the shift in real time. 15 years ago, fewer than 1 in 10 refrigerators needed a major repair in the first 5 years. Now that figure is over 30%. The math is simple. A 40% spike in failures, a lifespan chopped nearly in half, and a service industry flooded with calls that used to be rare. The cost of ownership is rising, not just in dollars, but in wasted food, lost time, and the frustration of a machine that should have been reliable. The promises on the showroom floor don't match the reality in American kitchens. The numbers are clear and they're getting worse. Mike Carlson's workbench is crowded with the insides of a modern refrigerator, each part telling a story of good intentions gone awry. The compressor, once a repairable workhorse, became a sealed black box in 2014. Manufacturers promised better energy efficiency, but the new linear compressors brought a hidden cost. When a bearing or piston fails, the entire sealed system must be swapped out. Gone are the days when a technician could replace a worn part and keep an old fridge humming. Now most compressors are out of warranty by the time trouble hits, and a single repair can run from $800 to $1,400. Carlson traces the soldered joints, noting the lack of service ports, a small detail that turns a routine fix into a major expense. For many, the only practical choice is to buy a new refrigerator. The next problem is buried in the electronics. Over the last decade, the number of circuit boards inside a fridge has tripled or quadrupled. Simple thermostats have been replaced by touchscreens, Wi-Fi modules, and sensor arrays. Each new feature adds another point of failure. Service records show Wi-Fi boards last just 18 months on average before failing. When they go, the fridge might lose connectivity, reboot at random, or flash error codes that shut down cooling. Replacing a main board costs $500 to $900, and parts often come only from the manufacturer. Carlson flips over a failed board, exposing swollen capacitors, a common sight in units less than 2 years old. The promise of smart features comes with a 2.5 times higher failure rate compared to basic models, and the repair bills add up quickly. Yet the most frequent trouble spot is the ice maker and water dispenser. These features, Now standard on most mid-range and high-end fridges, account for nearly 60% of all service calls. Their design packs motors, sensors, and valves into cramped spaces behind the freezer door. When something jams or leaks, repairs cost $500 to $750, often requiring a full assembly replacement. Carlson holds up a cracked ice maker tray, explaining how repeated freeze-thaw cycles and brittle plastics cause warping and breakage. For many families, the ice maker is the first thing to fail, sometimes within the first year. 3 design choices: sealed compressors, overloaded electronics, and fragile ice makers now quietly drive up the cost of ownership, shifting the burden from factory to homeowner. Jessica Monroe spent $2,700 on a new Samsung French door refrigerator, expecting years of trouble-free use. 18 months later, her kitchen was filled with the sound of melting ice and spoiled groceries. The unit's ice maker had frozen over, blocking the dispenser and leaking water into the freezer compartment. She wasn't alone. By 2023, more than 107,000 Samsung owners had joined a public group sharing stories of failed ice makers and ruined food. Legal action followed. In 2017, the first wave of complaints hit, but the issue kept spreading. Between 2017 and 2023, lawsuits accused Samsung of selling models with chronic ice maker defects, machines that freeze up, flood, or simply stop making ice. Many owners faced out-of-pocket losses of $2,700 or more, with no official recall to help. Sarah Patel, a consumer advocate, points out that Samsung's problem is not an isolated case. LG, another industry giant, has faced repeat lawsuits over its linear compressor design. The 2020 class action settlement covered 1.6 million LG refrigerators built between 2014 and 2017, offering payouts up to $3,500 and extended warranties. Yet by November 2025, a new lawsuit was filed, alleging the same compressor defect still plagues post-2018 models. LG's own service records show that 35% of their repair calls are compressor-related, far higher than the industry average. For many families, this means a $1,400 repair bill or a full replacement after just a few years. The legal filings and technician surveys paint a clear picture. Buying a premium refrigerator from brands like Samsung or LG now carries a real risk of early failure and major financial loss. The courtroom battles and mounting consumer complaints have turned these household names into cautionary tales. For buyers, the choice of brand is no longer just about features or style. It's about avoiding the next expensive breakdown. Some brands still stand apart for those determined to avoid the repair roulette. Bosch, Whirlpool, and Sub-Zero have managed to keep their failure rates far below the industry average. Bosch's 5-year service rate lands between 13% and 16%, making it one of the lowest among major manufacturers. Whirlpool sits just behind, with a 15% failure rate over the same period. These numbers are not just statistics. They translate directly into fewer service calls, less wasted food, and a longer stretch before the next big expense. Mike Carlson, who has spent years tracking cost of ownership, breaks it down in simple math. Take Sub-Zero. The average purchase price is high, but the units are built to last. Spread the total cost, including energy and expected repairs, over a typical 13-year lifespan, and the annual figure comes to about $300 per year. Compare that to Samsung, where the 5-year failure rate is over 33% and the average fridge lasts barely a decade. Factoring in frequent repairs and earlier replacement, the yearly cost jumps to $714. That is more than double, despite the lower sticker price at the start. Bosch and Whirlpool offer a similar advantage. Both brands hold their 5-year failure rates around 13 to 15%, and their average service life stretches to 12 or more years. The cost per year for these brands lands well below the industry's worst offenders. For buyers, the lesson is clear. Do not just look at the price tag or the latest features. The real question is how much you will pay, year after year, to keep your food cold and your kitchen running. In a market flooded with short-lived machines, the math points to a few trusted names and a rule of thumb worth following. Right now, a third of new refrigerators face major repairs before their 5th year, turning a basic appliance into a recurring financial gamble, until manufacturers prioritize lasting reliability over flashy features. The burden lands squarely on consumers. The next breakdown isn't a question of if, but when. Your wallet is on the line.